all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. This channel is dedicated to finding out whether I do in fact know it all or not. Today is going to be a little bit different, however. I've had a few questions about my background. I guess people are interested in that, and I guess that makes sense. So I guess I automatically get it right today because hopefully I know my own biography. Yeah, I grew up I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, and I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and so therefore I am not a Southerner at all, so sorry about the y'all thing, but I live in Georgia now, so hey, I get a little bit of a bonus for that. Anyway, I went to, regular public elementary school, and then I went to a really lovely prep school in Cleveland called University School for middle school and for high school. So shout out to you U.S. preppers. Yes, it couldn't be more preppy than that. Actually, interestingly enough, I think you can see it back there. Let's see if I can get it right. There is the symbol for U.S. My wife made me this poster. I actually will bring it out in just a second because I think it's really cool. So it's kind of a bunch of stuff that I've done, things that I'm interested in, and so forth. And let's see. So after that, I went to Princeton as an undergraduate and got a degree in physics from there and specialized in astronomy and my thesis was on millisecond pulsars. And actually, fascinatingly enough, the person that I worked on my junior paper with, which is kind of like a warm-up for your senior thesis, his name was Ed Gross, and he worked on the Hubble Space Telescope. So at the time that I was at Princeton, they were supposed to be launching the Hubble Space Telescope in like 1986, 87, and then tragically the Challenger disaster happened, and so they pushed it way back until I think it was 91 when it actually launched. But anyway, Ed was not a happy camper about all of that because, of course, he'd spent a huge chunk of his professional life helping to develop that spacecraft and that telescope. So anyway, interesting story about that. So, okay, all this stuff kind of lines up. And then I went to graduate school at Ohio State University, the Ohio State University, sorry. Got to make sure you put in the. And I actually went there in physics, but I was just super burned out. It was very difficult to be a physics major at Princeton where you were competing with a bunch of like Nobel Prize winning people, probably. I keep expecting one of my classmates to win a Nobel Prize any day. I was not that person. I was, on the lower end. I was just hanging on by my fingernails. Anyway, so I went to graduate school at Ohio State, and I started in physics, but after a year, I actually went back to undergraduate for a couple of quarters there, and then went for my master's and my PhD in English literature, and did my PhD dissertation on Samuel Beckett. At that point, I kind of wrapped things back around a little bit because I used Zen Buddhism and chaos theory as the kind of, I called it a binocular lens on Samuel Beckett's plays. If you know Beckett's plays, they're extremely, Waiting for Godot is the most famous one, but he wrote a lot of other ones. They're very dense, they're very difficult to understand, they're very absurdist, and so it was kind of an interesting look at how that was done. The book was published in the 90s, so if you want to look it up, it's No Thing Is Left to Tell, and so you can look it up and you can see. Anyway, and then after that, after I got my PhD in 95, I went out looking for jobs, of course. That's the thing you do. And I got a job in Indiana first, and my ex-wife had one there too. By the way, at that point I was married, and I had a child. Right around the time that I got my dissertation finished, I had a little guy, Josh, so that was awesome. And anyway, so I then moved out to California for a job where I was actually teaching in the English department, but as it turned out, it was the mid-1990s, and guess what the hot thing was? It was the internet, and it was multimedia and all that stuff. And they're like, we need some hot whippersnapper to come along and get in charge of this thing. So I ended up taking charge of the multimedia program at a small university called California Lutheran University, at which point my second son, Kenley, was born. And he's like, even though we do not live in California anymore, I don't know if it's in the water or what, but he looks like a California surfer boy. So I'll put some pictures of him up here while I'm talking. But anyway, so I was teaching out there, and then due to unfortunate circumstances of money, basically, it was very difficult to live out there. My ex and I decided that we needed to move back to the East Coast. That was a very difficult decision for me, but I ended up teaching next at a place called University of North Carolina at Asheville in Western North Carolina. And there I was teaching multimedia and so forth also, and started publishing a series of books with Wiley on Maya, Autodesk Maya, which is a 3D animation program. So if you want to ask me some questions about 3D animation and so forth, by all means do. After that, I taught there for a couple of years, and then I went to Clemson University, which you can also see there. It's a Clemson Tiger Paw there. And, oh, actually, I guess the Princeton one's there too. So she was pretty good about, like, putting all this stuff together. Anyway, so I then taught at Clemson, where I directed a graduate program doing creating narrative 3D animation films. And that was in the early 2000s. And I was actually there during 9/11, which was scary as anything, right? I'm sure everyone who was alive back then remembers how awful that experience was, but that was the time period up to like 2005, 2006, excuse me. Then after that, I actually moved to the University of Georgia, where I teach in the theater department, and I currently, so I've been here for like 14 years, I guess, 13 or 14 years. Anyway, I teach 3D animation, I teach 3D animation, sound design, screenwriting and playwriting, which I also do on the side professionally, so forth, and graduate topics in anything from like science fiction to I don't know, you name it, I'll teach it. It doesn't matter. I'm happy to do that. The most interesting thing that's happened recently is that I spent several years taking one class at a time, which you're allowed to do here if you're a professor in any department. You're allowed to take classes in another department to kind of increase your skill level. And so just this past May of 2019, I got a master's degree in artificial intelligence. So also, if you want to ask some questions about AI, that's definitely it too. As far as like other stuff I love to do, outside of the academic realm, I'm a super avid hiker, mountain climber, rock climber, scuba diver, surfer, biking, running. Don't do so much running anymore because I'm old. It's hard to run anymore. Weightlifting, tennis. I used to do when I was younger. If you want to look up the famous tennis people in my family, that would be my brother's side. His daughter is a professional tennis player. I'll leave you to ferret out her name. You can figure it out. And let's see, what else? I don't know. I just pretty much would love to do anything. I actually like cooking and stuff, so forth too. And of course, I love to read. And I'm like a sponge for information, which is why I thought this channel would be interesting. So yeah, let me like grab this thing quick, and I'll hold it up and kind of like show some of the stuff that my lovely current wife set up for me. It's kind of cool that she did all this stuff, and then we will say goodbye. Oh, actually, one thing I forgot, totally forgot. I actually have a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo. So there you go. Don't know why I forgot to mention that one. I haven't done it too actively recently, which is probably why I forgot. So anyway, you can see California Lutheran, Great Gatsby, which both of us love. I love Grand Teton National Park. We've been to Paris, Gravity's Rainbow, one of my favorite books. California, because I love California. This is actually Big Willie's kite school, so I've done a little bit of kite surfing at Kite Beach in the Dominican Republic. I also love to travel. So if you want to provide support for me to travel, I will be happy to come visit you anytime. Mount Rainier, climb Mount Rainier. Yeah, I climbed the Matterhorn, so she's got the Swiss Alps there. Ouray, Colorado, one of my favorite places. Surfing, tennis. This was the record that I used to listen to all the time. This is the Nutcracker. When I was a kid, I used to put that on, and I would just play it constantly. John Denver. That's a whole different kind of music, but love that. Huskies, my babies. I have 2 huskies and now a pug also. And let's see. Art, Yosemite. Love Yosemite. Biking, hiking, Germany. I don't know. You name it. You can find other stuff. Sanibel, my family traveled there a lot when I was younger. And LA near where I lived, and Belgium, and the Lord of the Rings, or the Ring Cycle. Sorry, not the Lord of the Rings. Goodness, that would be Tolkien. This is Wagner, the Ring Cycle. Anyway, really amazing stuff. And she's even got Waiting for Godot with Samuel Beckett down there. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, there you go. Hopefully that helps to explain who I am. And if you're interested in asking other questions about what my background is or what I'm interested in, by all means do. And especially like and subscribe, and make sure that you ask questions in the comments or at DrKnowItAllKnows@gmail.com. I'm always looking for questions to answer. It's a lot of fun to do this. So anyway, I will talk to you later. Until next time, bye-bye.